Start game now.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the No Swear Gamer, and hey look, it's Math Grand Prix. What are you doing here? You brought me another game? What's that? Oh, it's kind of like a board game, kind of like yourself? Okay, well let's go ahead and take a look, and it's Anticipation for your Nintendo Entertainment System. That's right, it's party fun for all ages, and judging by this cheesy, great 80s picture, it totally is. You gotta dig that 80s hair and sweaters. Totally radical. But you know what? Let's go ahead and pop this into our Nintendo Entertainment System and see if it's fun all the way from A to Z. Let's go to the game. Anticipation is from 1988, and it's a virtual board game for 1 to 4 players, and it comes to us from Rare, the same guys who brought us Battletoads. It is a cross of Pictionary and Trivial Pursuit, basically. The board is very similar to Trivial Pursuit, and it actually has different levels, so there's actually multiple boards. Most difficulties have 3 different boards or 3 levels, kind of like a ladder where you can ascend, and the most hardest difficulty has 4. Your goal is to go around the board on each level and complete 4 colors. Get 4 colors, just like a game of Trivial Pursuit where you're gathering the pie pieces. Once you get the 4 colors of that board level, you go up to another level, and you keep going up until you get to the final level, and whoever completes the final level first wins the game. As you go around the board, in order to get a color piece, you have to land on a color, or someone else has to land on it, and then a Pictionary style game begins, where the computer is always the drawer, so you don't have to worry about drawing pictures in this one at all. The computer will start drawing a kind of a crude, very limited picture, and you will have to guess what the picture is by buzzing in. Now, whenever someone lands on any color, any of the contestants can buzz in. If it is a 1 or 2 player game, as far as people go, you can buzz in just by pushing either the A or B button or any direction on the D-pad. However, if you have more than 2 human players, you will share a controller. That's right, this game does not use the NES satellite 4-player adapter, so you only are allowed to use 2 controllers even if you have up to 4 players. And what happens is, if you have more than 2 human players, they will have to share a controller. So one person will buzz in using the D-pad of a controller, and the other will use the buttons, and then you'll have to hand it off. Once you buzz in, you have to input your answer using an alphabet at the bottom of the screen to spell out what you want to spell. But you have to be careful, because if you misspell it, even 1 letter, the computer will give you a warning, and if you do it twice, it will actually tell you that your turn is over. And that happens as soon as you press a button. So let's say you see a car and you accidentally hit the B instead of the C. Once you hit that B, it'll immediately buzz you, and if you make any more mistakes, that's it. Sometimes this also can be difficult, because sometimes you won't be sure exactly what kind of word the computer is looking for. So if you see a picture of a woman or a girl or a lady, let's say you're not sure if it's a girl or a lady, you input 1 and it's wrong, and you have to guess what else it could be. So sometimes it is a little difficult to understand exactly what the computer is going for, even though you know exactly what you want to say. So you have to be halfway decent at spelling. There wasn't too difficult of words, and you have to kind of get an understanding for what the computer is trying to draw. Now, in earlier levels, you will see kind of a connected dots series of where the computer is going to draw before it starts to drawing, to give you an idea of what the picture is going to be. And you will also see blank spaces at the bottom to signify the number of letters in the word. But once you get to higher levels, or once you play on harder difficulties, the spaces on the bottom will disappear, as will the dots, so you'll really have to kind of use your noggin to figure it out. I remember one time it was drawing a picture of a gun, but it didn't want me to write the word gun, it wanted me to write the word pistol. And so that was a little change right there, and so sometimes that can lead to frustration, but overall I thought it worked pretty well. Yeah, the pictures were crude, and sometimes I had no idea what was going on, and sometimes the computer seemed to be able to read the computer's mind when a computer player buzzed in, but overall I thought it was pretty fair and actually somewhat entertaining to guess the pictures. It was probably as good as a Pictionary game as you can get on an 8-bit system. Now, one other aspect of guessing the numbers is there is a die in the corner that is counting down. So it starts at 6 because it's a 6-sided die, and it slowly works its way down to 0. Once it gets to 0, that's it, the turn is over. So if no one guessed, They just give you another question and you start again. However, an interesting aspect of this game is whatever you guess, if like, let's say the die's at 5, when you guess it and you get it correct, you will next move 5 spaces. So wherever the die's at, you will move that number of spaces. So if you're missing a color and it's 3 spaces away, even though you know it right away, you might want to wait until it gets down to 3, but of course then you're risking another player buzzing in and taking it from you. So there was a little bit of strategy in there. And also you get some points, and I don't really think the points are that big of a deal, more for like second or third place, but you do get points based on how far you go on the die. So if you guess a question with 6 remaining on the die, you'll get more points than if you guess it with 1 remaining on the die. Now, typically on each level, the different colors will coordinate to different categories. And most of the categories are fairly easy to understand, like you might have a science one or tools, something along that nature. But there is a category called the whatchamacallit category, which basically is a puzzle category. So an example of the puzzle might be if the computer drew the letter I twice, and what it's looking for is a pair of eyes or something like that. So it's like one of those puzzles that you occasionally see where you have to figure out what's going on, kind of like the game Classic Concentration, if anyone remembers that game. So yeah, that threw me off sometimes and was difficult in some of the categories. You know, some of the pictures are more difficult than others, but overall I kind of understood what the computer was going at, and I thought they did a fairly good job with what they were trying to do. Graphically speaking, the game is not that impressive. I mean, the board looks like a game board and the tokens look like tokens. However, one interesting thing about the tokens is they force the token on you depending on which player you are. The first player is always a pair of high heels. The second player is a trumpet, the third is a teddy bear, and the fourth is an ice cream cone. You cannot select it. So if you're playing a one-player game like I was, you will always be the pair of high heels, which made me mad because they didn't go with what I was wearing. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that aspect, and I could see some younger boys back in the day kind of getting put off by the fact that they wanted to play Anticipation by themselves. They're always going to be a pair of high heels. So kind of scratches your head why they don't let you choose your own token, but oh well, you know, it's just a little thing. Musically speaking, I was actually kind of impressed with the music. It was catchy and definitely above average for a Nintendo Entertainment System game. So yeah, the music was okay. Family friendly wise, yeah, it's a board game. It's pretty family friendly. However, there is a category or times where you have to draw weapons like the gun, like I said before, so that might put off some parents. But overall, I thought this was a rather family friendly game. Nothing really risque here. On eBay, the game is pretty cheap. A used copy, a loose copy, goes for about $4, and that includes the shipping, so that's about next to nothing. And a complete copy went for about $10. And complete copies usually go for more than that, so this one should be really easy to get if you want it. But would I recommend it, and what did I think overall? Well, overall, it actually impressed me more than I thought it would. I kind of went to the game not expecting much, but I actually had a good time while I played it. And it kind of was up my alley. I am a board game kind of person. I like Pictionary. I like the Trivial Pursuit style. So yeah, it kind of worked for me to a degree. It's not a game that I would go back to a lot, and I don't know if I'll ever go back to it again, but it is a game that's kind of a middle-of-the-road game. So where would I rank it? Well, I'm kind of looking in the middle of the road, and I'm looking at the game Kung Fu as kind of a breaking point. Now, and I think, you know what, the arcade game Kung Fu is fun. The NES version's fun too in spurts. I think I'd rather play that than Anticipation. So Anticipation's going to go right below that at the number 5 spot. Not a game I would go out of my way for, but if you get a copy and you haven't played it before, I would encourage you to try it at least once. So there you go. That's Anticipation for your Nintendo Entertainment System. I am a member of the Retro Junkies Network, and so is Two Dudes in a NES. It's a really cool podcast that you can find on iTunes and in just about every social media site available. And they do a game-by-game podcast where every week they take an in-depth look at one game. And they've already done Anticipation. So if you go into iTunes and look up their episodes, you can find the Anticipation episode along with other games as well. Anyways, I want to thank you all for giving me a little part of your day. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you hit the like button and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. That really encourages YouTubers such as myself. And also, don't forget you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Just go to either one and search for The No Swear Gamer, and you should find me pretty easily. Thanks again for giving me some of your time, and I look forward to seeing you next time right here on The No Swear Gamer. Take care, everybody.